Hi, subreddit. What is the greatest revenge you have ever taken?
Way back in the early 2000s, I began to suspect that my wife was up to something. Our two kids were about 4 and 6, still young, but not so young they couldn't tell you something about what had happened in their day. They started talking. A lot about staying with my wife's parents during the day, which wasn't really that strange in and of itself, but since they lived about 90 minutes away, doing so 2 or 3 times a week seemed a bit much. That was basically every day. She wasn't working at her part-time job. When I asked her about it, she denied it, but was never a good liar. So I started tracking the mileage on her car, and sure enough, she was driving an extra 400 or so miles per week. I knew some shit was going on. Then one day, I sat down at the computer, and she had left a sticky note with her AOL password written on it next to the keyboard. I could not resist, and logged in to read her emails and saw a few email exchanges between her and her college BFF where they discussed how my wife was regularly fucking one of her ex-BFs from high school. No mention of details about him other than my wife also talking shit about his wife, making fun of how she'd gotten fat after having kids. Anyway, I printed out these email exchanges and stashed them. I still needed to know the details, so I called a friend who was a cop, and he suggested I call a guy he knew that had left the force to become a PI. Ron was great. I paid his retainer and gave him the emails and what little I knew about my wife's activities, and he figured out exactly what she was doing. His report detailed with photos and times, dates, locations, all about how she would take the kids to her parents, then go meet this guy for lunch, then they'd go to a dumpy motel for a few hours, after which she'd pick up the kids and return home. At this point, I hired a divorce lawyer. My parents cheated on each other, and the fallout absolutely fucked mine and my siblings' childhood. It was something that was totally unacceptable. I also asked Ron to find out what he could about this guy. Ron absolutely came through. I learned his name, Bob, that he was married and had 3 kids. I also found out that he worked as a VP of sales for his father-in-law's business. At this point, I had my lawyer draw up the divorce papers. I also asked Ron for a couple more copies of his report, and I had one more thing I wanted him to do for me. On the same day I had my wife served with the divorce papers at her work, I had Ron meet with this guy's wife and show her everything he'd found out. She seemed nice, and I figured that she deserved to know what her dear hubby was up to. What she did with that information was up to her. While the information about my wife's infidelity didn't really matter in my divorce proceedings, Bob's wife did a real number on him. According to the publicly available court documents from the divorce and other related proceedings, she cleaned out their joint account, took the kids, and left. As soon as her dad found out what he'd done, Bob was fired, and since her parents actually owned the house where Bob and his wife lived, he also got evicted. Their divorce was ugly. Lots of fighting in and evidently out of court. I guess Bob went to the house and started arguing with his wife, and it escalated to the point that her brother stepped in and Bob got his nose broken. There were restraining orders, a few more incidents with police reports, criminal charges, jail time, and so on. I can't find Bob on the internet anywhere these days. Last I heard, he'd left the state and his ex-wife did okay. She went to work at her dad's company and took over after he retired. As for me, my ex and I got along well enough. I didn't engage with her on anything that wasn't related to the kids, and now that they're both adults, I don't talk to her at all anymore. I don't hate her or anything, but I only care in the context that she is my kids' mom and is important to them. Nothing beyond that.
Hey, Reddit users, what is your crazy or unusual love story?
Quit my boring office job and turned down a job offer from MI5 in London to go live in Australia after visiting for a few days and loving it there. There was an issue with my visa, which meant it expired 2 hours before I landed and was invalid. I had to fly to another country to get a new one, so I flew to New Zealand, but the backpacking hostel I was going to stay in was overbooked. They offered to put me up in an Asian hostel down the block, and I agreed because I just wanted to get my visa and get back to Australia. I applied for my visa online as soon as I got to the Asian hostel. While I was there, I met a super hot Japanese girl and instantly fell in love. We tried to communicate, but she couldn't speak English, and I didn't know any Japanese. So the next day, I bought a Japanese phrasebook to chat with her. We went hiking, to bars, the beach, the movie theater, and 3 weeks later I got my visa and she came back to Australia with me. I got a job selling didgeridoos on the Gold Coast after a stint in Brisbane, and she went back to New Zealand after 3 months because she only had a tourist visa. At the end of the year, my boss at the didgeridoo place offered to sponsor me for a new work visa, but the Japanese girl was asking me to meet her in Tokyo, so I quit the didgeridoo job and flew to Japan. I spent 6 months with the girl in Japan as a tourist and met her mate's father, who was a karate master. He offered to teach me karate, so I got a new visa for that and stayed. Later on, I married the girl, had kids, got a job at a private high school, and bought a home in Tokyo. All because I was 2 hours late getting from the UK to Australia.
Men of Reddit, how do you prefer your significant other to bring up difficult issues in the relationship to you? What does good communication look like to you?
It started with silence. Not the good kind, like the quiet comfort of two people reading in bed. No. This silence was heavier, denser. It sat between us on the couch like a third person we didn't invite. She hadn't said much during dinner. Just the usual small talk. How was work? Fine. You want more rice? Nah, I'm good. That kind of thing. But something in her tone, it didn't sit right. Like her voice was wearing a mask. Polite, but not present. Should have asked right then. I should have said, "What's really on your mind?" But I didn't. I just grabbed a beer, turned on the TV, and hoped that whatever it was, it would pass. Spoiler, it didn't. About 20 minutes into the show, she picked up the remote and paused it. Mid-scene. That's when I knew something was coming. Not an explosion. She wasn't like that. But something real. Something sharp. Can we talk? Those 3 words, every man knows them. Every man has a choice in that moment. Pretend you didn't hear. Crack a joke to diffuse it, or face it head on. I hesitated. Sure. She didn't jump in right away. She looked down at her hands, picking at her thumbnail. Then she said, "I feel like I don't exist to you anymore." Just like that. No warm-up, no soft landing, straight into the heart of it. I opened my mouth to respond, but nothing came out. Because the truth is, I hadn't noticed how distant I'd become. I thought we were fine. I thought the silence was just life. 2 adults surviving the daily grind. But she was hurting, and I hadn't seen it. She kept going. Her voice wavered a little, but she didn't cry. She said she felt like a background character in my life. Like I came home to a roommate, not a partner. That I didn't ask how she was doing anymore. That I didn't seem curious about her thoughts, her day, her heart. And she was right. I wasn't present. I was tired, burnt out from work, numb from scrolling, distracted constantly. But none of those are excuses. None of those change the fact that someone I love had been trying to hold space for us, and I hadn't met her halfway. I got defensive at first. I won't lie. I've just been under a lot of pressure. You know that. Yeah, she said softly. But pressure doesn't give you a pass to disappear. That one stung. There was a long pause after that. She turned away, curling her legs up onto the couch. The room felt colder somehow, like we weren't just sitting apart physically. We were in different rooms emotionally. And still, I didn't know what to say. Not "I'm sorry." Not yet. I was still too in my own head, still processing the fact that the person who always seemed okay wasn't. I thought about how I like things to be brought up, calmly, without blame, with clear words and no hidden meanings. I don't like guessing games. I don't respond well to sarcasm or the "you should already know" energy. And the truth is, she had done exactly what I would have wanted. She told me how she felt, not what I was. She didn't say, "You're a bad partner." She said, "I feel unseen." There's a world of difference. Eventually, I broke the silence. I didn't know it was that bad. She gave a small, sad smile. That's the problem. That night, we didn't fix it. There was no magical makeup scene, no passionate apology with violins playing in the background. We sat there for a while, then went to bed, backs turned, but closer than we were before the conversation. Over the next few days, I kept thinking about what good communication actually looks like. It's not just about timing or tone. It's about intent. When someone brings you something hard, are they trying to hurt you or are they trying to heal with you? She was trying to heal with me. And once I finally let my guard down, once I stopped trying to be right, I realized something. I don't need her to tiptoe around my ego. I need her honesty more than I need my comfort. So to answer the question, how do I want my partner to bring up difficult things, like she did? Not in anger, not in accusation, but bravely, gently, clearly, like someone who still believes this is worth fighting for, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard.
I delivered my child in my work's parking lot on my birthday.
The day of my birthday, my wife was extremely pregnant. Being we live in the U.S. with subpar maternity leave, she planned to work until she went into labor. At lunchtime, she calls me and says she just started to get some contractions, but would work until the end of her shift so she won't have to take PTO. I say okay, but call me or leave if it becomes too much. About 20 minutes later, she texts me saying she's heading home to labor there. Our first took 19 hours, so she figured she had plenty of time. She leaves her place of work, a hospital no less, and starts to drive home. She was driving on the highway and thinking that these were really getting strong. She called me if I had. Left work yet? Said no, she responds. Good. Meet me in your parking lot in 2 minutes. My office was on the way home from her. I see her. She pulls into my office driveway, then stops, so I run to her car. She's deep into a contraction. She rolls the window down, so I say park there. I'll get my car and we'll go to the hospital. I get her out of the car, she takes a step, then gets on all fours to deal with the labor pain. After that contraction is done, I help her up, and then her water breaks. I say, don't worry about it, just get in the car. She in the doorframe just saying, I can't. I say, just get in. She says, you don't understand, I can't sit down, just throw me in the trunk. I'm not throwing you in the trunk. She says, you have to call 911. I call and within 10 seconds, she says, we have a head. I put the phone on speaker and on the ground, help her pull her pants down a bit, and baby is right there. While standing, one more contraction, my daughter is in my hands. She wasn't crying, so I gave her a light tap on the butt, and she starts perking up. The 911 operator then had me wipe the mouth with a towel. She then says she needed me to tie off the umbilical cord with a shoelace. At first I'm thinking, where the heck am I going to find a shoelace when it dawned on me? I'm wearing shoes. I tie it tight, 6 inches from her stomach. Then I worry, did I tie it too tight and I'll cut through it? So I grab my other shoelace and tie it again lighter. When we got to the hospital, they said tying the umbilical cord could have waited. This is all happening with a siren in the background. The paramedics went inside the building and says, we're here for the pregnant woman. The person at the front goes, there's no pregnant woman here. Eventually, somebody who knew I was on baby watch said they saw me leave and to check the parking lot. Eventually, they find us and everything turned out okay. One hell of a birthday present. Fast forward 7 years, my daughter likes to tell everyone she meets that she was born in a parking lot, and now my dad is my birthday buddy.
Am I overreacting about losing my virginity to a 20-year-old? Last year, December, I met this guy. He was with his friends, and I approached them to ask if they wanted to be friends. I asked their ages and told them mine. Kay were shocked since I smoke weed. They do too, and that's how I kind of became friends. With 2 guys. The one who took my virginity and his best friend, 18. After that, I hung out with him once by accidentally running into him. I didn't see or hear from him until this year, February, when I got a text from him saying, are you mature for your age? He then asked if I'm a virgin, and I said yes. He asked me if I'm down to fuck. I found him really attractive, and he was exactly my type, so I said yes. I asked him where we're doing it, and he said outside since he lives with his family. I was a bit hesitant because I've always wanted my first time to be someone special and in a bed. We met up, and the first thing he said was, "Turn around, bend. Over and take your pants off." I did it. After about 30 seconds, he pulled out and left. I felt really disappointed. I texted him asking if we can do it again sometime. He said probably not because he has a girlfriend. After that, he started asking me for weed, so I gave him for free in hopes that we'd have sex again. I never saw him in a romantic or any way before, but after that I became attached. I think it's called a soul tie. I also have extremely bad attachment issues. He started asking for weed more, and I gave him. Sometimes when I gave him, he'd ask if I'm down. I always said yes in hopes he'll like me more. Everyone I've told has told me to cut him off and that this isn't normal or healthy, but I just can't. Too attached. This has been going on for 7 months now. I can't help but feel it's my fault because I keep saying yes, even though it makes me feel horrible afterwards. I don't know what to do or how to move on.
My friend obsessed over one girl for 3 years before being blacklisted by everyone in our friend circle. Honestly sounds like something you'd see in a moist, critical, creepy text message video, but happened to my friend Lisa. It all started in my sophomore year where I met Alex. We met via a common enemy who nobody liked in our gym class, Ryan. He'd unironically try to rizz up girls in gym class and even shook his ass for one. He tried to paint himself as a gangster in the school, which me and Alex loved to joke about. We became close enough to where we realized he sat all the way at the front of the room in my biology class, not noticing him since I sat on the opposite side in the back. He liked the girl that sat next to him, Lisa. I remember when I first met her, I calmly introduced myself, complimented her drawing, and relaxed with the two of them throughout the rest of my sophomore year. But as all stories have twists, nothing good lasts forever. The day I got her number, he looked a bit pissed and rushed over to get her number as well, which she hesitantly gave him. IOFC noticed and brushed it off to, "Oh, he thinks I'm trying to steal his crush," when in reality, I don't like her, and knew prior that he liked her. He was very forward with me. Time passes to fall. We all have a group chat together. Then Lisa introduces us to her other friends. Apparently, she had a brother, Kyle, who was a junior and her idol. She also had a friend, Shannon, who was also in the same grade as her brother. We'd just hang out like normal and talk about school, games, and whatever teens talked about. Around New Year's Day, Alex messaged Lisa asking her to be his GF, which she politely declined as she wasn't ready, wasn't into him, and wanted to focus on her studies. But that's also when the creepy behavior started to kick in. In the following 2 years from my junior to senior year, Joseph joined the friend group and very quickly noticed Alex's creepy behavior along with me. When we hung out, he'd slowly and subtly shift towards her direction and would sometimes rearrange the order we were standing in to get next to her. Worst part? He was self-aware too. But me and Joseph didn't really say or do anything because her brother Kyle, who was also very protective of her, wasn't concerned. We felt that if it was an issue, Kyle would have done something about it by now. Whenever she'd be talking to one of her friends, Alex would just look away without talking to anyone like a lost antisocial puppy. But if it was a guy she was talking to, even a friend of hers or an acquaintance, he would just give the 1,000-yard stare, daring them to make a move. Even at lunch, since she's usually the last to arrive, Alex, who used to casually chat with me, would now stare at the walkway and railing like a dog waiting for its owner to arrive. He would stare at her when he thought nobody was looking, and it was low-key kind of creepy. Justice came in my senior year around New Year's. What beautiful and coincidental timing, when he made a joke about a kidnapping in the area to the group chat, which ticked everyone off. It was the catalyst for the drama that followed. While everyone was attacking him in the GC, Lisa came out and spoke about the creepy behavior he was exhibiting while Joseph and me backed it up. Alex was eventually kicked from the group. He was so bad to the point where Joseph had to remind Shannon, the religious woman, that murder was a sin and illegal. The jokes write themselves as me, Joseph, and Kyle were playing Fortnite one night, and the Samana was brought up. We bet that his behavior was so cliche that ChatGPT would be able to predict the next move, and so that's what we did. I told ChatGPT the situation and his creepy obsessive behavior, and it told us to call the police or check to see if he's still lingering anywhere nearby. The next day at school during lunch, I checked by the wall of the library, which was right in front of where we usually hung out. I didn't expect ChatGPT of all things to find out, but there he was, on his laptop on the floor, like nothing happened. He kept saying how he knew he was being creepy and tried not to, but his actions were a clear indication that he lied. It was bad enough, but got worse when you realize bro was a junior now and was about to head into his senior year with this obsessive mentality. All because his crush told him no and prioritized her education.
Like and subscribe for more if you enjoyed the video.